Good morning, warriors. We are back with another episode of Morning Retention Talk. Hope everyone is doing well. This is February 10th, 2022, and hope you guys are continuing on your plan, on your journey. I think that I have a feeling that things are changing in the world, and this is a good thing. I think a lot of good things, except for my car wheel here, which I have to kind of probably look at, but it usually gets like this a lot of times in the cold, so it's still a little chilly. Not that bad, but a little chilly here. So thank you for subscriptions, comments, likes, all those type of things, donations. It's greatly appreciated. Keep telling me what you need me to kind of talk about. I'm happy to do that. We had a great question from Christien Thomas, and I'm going to kind of focus on that one a little bit today and kind of focus on at least my understanding of it. So his question was a really good one, talking about how you handle all this on a military base with younger and older people there. And so this is really a very interesting question, and I appreciate that. A shout out to Christien on this one, and let's kind of get into this one a little bit here. So I have not served, so I'm not someone who is actually on different military bases at all, but I do have a son-in-law that was, and I do have relatives and people, and I have visited them and kind of talked stories and different types of things over the years, and so I can at least kind of give you that perspective from what my hearing and experience has been with some of this. And I've had lots of different students in my class, of course, that served, and we want to honor all those people, and it's a wonderful thing. So, Christien, if you are a service person, great job, my friend, and thank you for your service to our country, and it is greatly appreciated as always. So when we talk about this is a tough situation, and for a lot of different reasons. One of which is the fact that we have a lot of a mix between older people and younger people. Obviously, a lot of people who go and maybe right out of college, or at some point, before they go out of high school, and they go to serve in our great service organizations and service places, military, and they go and they have a lot of energy, and certainly as they're being kind of going through the situation and being taught different types of things, there is a lot of testosterone running around, and of course you're going to have a lot of different types of things happening. And whether you're living on the military base or anything like that, I've seen cases where you have a lot of male and female interaction, of course, with girlfriends and wives, and then husbands, and different type of things. And I think you have a lot of temptation that's there, and that's something that is common. And I have heard stories of things, a lot of crazy things happening, like almost anywhere. But I think the key to a lot of this is the values you go into things with. Now, certainly, in my opinion, you're serving in a military that Air Force, whether it's Navy, Air Force, that is really very crucial to the American way of life and who we are. And because of that, to me, those are very high values you're learning, and so that goes along with, to my mind, self-control. One of the things that I'm sure, as I've understood over the years, has been intertwined within a lot of the teachings, is the idea of self-control. You have to have discipline, not only to listen to your commanders and people within the military, but also to try to have some level of control and working out and trying to be as fit as you can to be able to handle all the stress in a situation that you have. And so, because of that, it fits in a lot to what we're talking about. Now, the temptations, just like anything else, are pretty great. And it's kind of more like, well, because you're kind of in the secluded area and you're only seeing so many people, and it's limited at times, that makes it easier to have temptation. And what I say that for is, what I mean is that almost like a small inner community of some sort, it's easier to kind of run into problems because you see these people. This is why you see a lot of people who, they work together for long periods of time. They end up having, affairs and different things like that because they're so used to working with somebody that they develop that sort of emotional backing behind the relationship that it turns into something else. And this is what happens when you see people on a frequent basis, and those type of things happen. So this is why in those situations it could be very tempting and dangerous in those type of things we see. And then you also have lots of situations where people bring in different values and ideas, and they may not be the most highest values you can have. And so they're always going to be tempting you to kind of change and do different things, whether it's going to go out and drinking or have drinks with people on base, or whether it's doing this or doing that. You have swinging things going on, and lots of people doing lots of crazy different things that occur when you have a lot of younger people together, and then you have some of the older people who are setting standards, and whether they're good or bad, those standards are there. And so you have a lot of temptation that is possible. But again, and I think Christien is a good question, at any situation you're in, you have to kind of realize the overall goal. If you're in a situation, if you're in a situation where you're trying to go on this journey, the journey has to be one of the most important things in your life. Now, I put God first, but God is a big part of this whole situation. One of the reasons I'm doing this, the biggest reason, is I want to get more closer to my God. And I believe that by keeping your nutrients and keeping who you are, this version of me is the closest that I can get. And I sense that. I have a lot more focus in my spiritual life. I have a lot more, communication, I feel, that's strong and positive. And I feel those things are all very, very worthwhile. And this is the reason that I do this. So if you've taken on this journey and you really want to do this, then it doesn't really matter where necessarily you are, though you will have a lot more temptation at certain places than other places. And I think certainly at any kind of military base, then you're going to get that. Okay? You're going to have that at military bases because there's a lot of close interaction on a continual basis. But like any other type of situation, you have to kind of make a resolve saying, I am just not going to get involved with this. Now, will that have ramifications? Well, like anything else, you see people standing up for themselves. You look at situations in Canada, and people standing up for themselves, and you're going to have ramifications. But the question always is it worth it in the long run? And is it something that is worthwhile for you to take that risk and take that consequence? And I think that in this case, the benefits of your life and things like that are very positive when it comes to retention. And I think it's something you have to kind of sit through and kind of stay with. So I agree totally. I think it's an important type of thing to look at. And I think that it's a great question from Christien, because we all get into situations where we're put into tempting situations, and we have to kind of say, okay, what's the overall type of goal? Once again, we talk about this a lot. The birds can fly over your head. Man, oh man, this is early. Fly over your head, right? The birds can fly over your head, but the question is, will you let them nest in your head? And this is when they start to grow and it becomes more of a problem. Having wine once in a while, having something, this is not, to my mind, a highly destructive type of thing. But being drunk and continue to drink and allow that type of thing to get into you, and you can't all of a sudden control it, that's a whole different type of matter. And the same thing with any kind of addiction you get into. Now, I would say, when it comes to retention, at least in my case, I've just gone totally to monk mode, because I tried all kinds of other things over the years, and it just did not work, because I could not kind of go back and forth and have different sorts of edging and different things like that. I just couldn't do that. I just could not do that, and really keep the energy that I have. So that's why I decided to go to monk mode, and I think I'm at 160 days or something like that, or close to it. And this has been the best thing for me. And this is why I say that you have to really kind of make a decision, which I finally did, and say, this is my lifestyle. I'm changing it. And the people around me have to kind of deal with it one way or the other. And I would say that it's total great support from my wife and kids and all that kind of stuff. And they realize that I'm a different person, a better person because of it. Now, I also think that you have to kind of make those decisions within your own context and who you are. And, I personally have no right to judge anybody. And I think certainly that's the case for all of us. And so you have to kind of take each situation on its own face value. But I certainly think that you don't want to put yourself in positions where you're being tempted. Now, obviously you want to serve your country, but there's ways, probably, my guess would be in talking to people, there's ways to avoid it. I've met people over the years that did not get involved in a lot of those type of behaviors that would be tempting. Being on a base for 4 years, or how long they were on, serving, and they came out great. But once again, it takes that inner type of force to say, I'm not really going to get involved in this. I'm not going to do this. Now, if you think about it, in a normal sense, having self-discipline is something you're being taught every day while you're serving. I think it's one of the greatest things to do if you're not going to school. I think it's very important for everyone to have a situation where they're in regimented places where they learn how to deal with authority, and they're able to learn how to self-discipline. This is very crucial, and I think the services, no matter which one it is, gives you a great opportunity to do that. And I think this is why I do encourage people, obviously, younger people, to experience this, because I think it's important to understand this and be able to understand how much discipline and self-control you have to have. Now, applying that to a situation, it would seem to me, and like I said, I've never served, but it would seem to me that you're in a situation where you want to have self-control. You want to be able to be the best you can be physically, mentally, and spiritually, to be able to conduct a lot of things you're doing. A lot of the basic training things, all those type of things seem to really focus on that same attitude, that same idea that you have to be strong mentally, physically, and spiritually. And depending on your spiritual type of preference, that has to be a strong area for you too, just to cope with all the stresses you're going to have, especially as you're starting off and serving the years you're serving in whatever service capacity you're in. Now, and so this is why it would make sense that a person would embrace retention and those type of things. However, Satan is all over the place. Evil spirits all around. And you never know who's getting an evil spirit and who's doing certain things. It may be under the guise of a person being selfish. Maybe they have an ego problem. Maybe they're just interested in self-preservation, and they don't really necessarily care about you necessarily. Maybe they're trying to take advantage of you. Maybe they're committing one of the sins of coveting your stuff or coveting your wife. All those type of things, wife or husband. All of a sudden, now they're causing you great, pain and harm and things like that. And it's a very difficult situation. And I've seen lots of those type of situations. And I've seen lots of situations with people who were serving and their husbands or wives were fooling around at home, back in the States and back in other places. And once again, those things unfortunately happen as well. But the thing is that you have to continue to stay on your goal. No matter what stresses are happening around us, and we have a lot of interesting types of things, especially if you're a person who is, sticking to your guns, and a person who believes in a certain types of things, you're going to, catch a lot of consequences. You're going to catch a lot of things that, people, don't like you, don't want you to act a certain way, and those things happen. So all you can really do is continue to do your thing and stick to your guns, because in the long run, you're going to be better for that. And that's the key. So Christian, I think, asked a great situational question, and we're going to deal with lots of these type of situational things in our life. The question is, can you go ahead and be able to understand that you're in a situation that no matter what's happening around you, you have to kind of stay focused on your goal and where you're at. And it doesn't really matter what people are doing around you. You always have that choice, option to say no, that I'm going to continue doing the things I'm doing. And you do have that option when it comes to images and pictures, but certainly putting yourself in a position where things are. I'll give you a great example, and this happens to a lot of celebrities and athletes, especially athletes when it comes to things like games. Like I saw the NFL, I didn't watch it, but the NFL Pro Bowl last week, and he had a certain player who got themselves in trouble because they were in a situation where it was a bar or something happened, and they ran into, and they had some problems with people, and there was some kind of fight and things going on. I think that as a younger person especially, you have to understand that with a lot of celebrity and money and things like that, you're going to have a lot of people who are going to be, kind of going after you, poking you and things like that. Maybe they're jealous, whoever knows the reason, but they're going to go ahead and kind of, sometimes give you a hard time. And so you have to make sure that you're not putting yourself in positions like being at bars and being in situations, especially in a place, I think it was in Las Vegas, that you would just have those situations. But again, temptation and evil spirits are around all the time. And so for a person to have a lot of money and not do those type of things, gambling, and put themselves in positions where they get themselves in trouble, well, that's difficult. That takes a lot of self-control. The same thing in the services, and the same thing in places where you have people who have authority over you and other things like that. And you have situations where you're sometimes afraid to say no to people, no matter what the situation is. But remember, you're taking the consequences of your actions, and if you're doing things that are wrong or tempting, and you're doing those things, you're going to get hurt in the long run. And obviously with the retention, you're going to go ahead and have to start again, and now it's a longer trek back. And I know that because it took me 45 years, and I finally just decided that was it. And it took a long time. So I'm hoping to say these things so that you don't wait 45 years, that you end up kind of starting now and say, I'm not going to go ahead and release my energy unless I'm going to have children. And I'm going to go ahead and not get affected by pictures and things on the internet and things like that. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of live, have goals, try to achieve things, help people in mankind as much as I can, and have a life that God has really kind of supported and made sure that you were blessed, with His purpose. So, well, great question. Thank you, Christian. I appreciate it. Your comments and a question there. A good application type question for our thing this morning. So, again, guys, have a great day today. This is February 10th, 2022. And have a wonderful day, and we'll talk to you soon. Battle on.